Hey guys, welcome back. In the last video, I proved the product rule. And in this video, we're gonna do some examples of the product rule. So, just a friendly reminder, what makes something a product? This is the most important thing I can possibly say about this video. In order to determine if something's a product, you need to see if there's an X times an X. If it doesn't say X times X, then absolutely not a product rule, okay? So that's the most important thing. So how do we do this? Well, I want to find the derivative of this f of x. So I'm going to start off with the notation to let the reader know that you are taking the derivative. F prime of x is equal to, keep the first, I'm going to keep it, times the derivative of sine of x. Do you guys remember the derivative of sine of x? Cosine x. So you keep the first, derivative of the second, plus, now you just got to do the reverse. I'm going to keep the second, derivative of the first. Do you guys know what the derivative of 2x to the third is? How do we do that? Power rule. 3 times 2 is 6. And then you're going to reduce your exponent by 1. Okay? Now, some people may leave it like that. Some people may want to factor out a 2. I'm just going to leave it like this, and you guys can decide what you want to do with it later, but you should always put the algebra in front of the trig, okay? And that's pretty much it. Let's try one more example. Okay, tell me why this is a product rule. Because you see an X times an X. That's why it's a product rule. Let's take the derivative. Let the reader know by showing the notation. We're going to keep the first. Make sure your parentheses is there. Cosine, the derivative of cosine is negative sine. Any trig function, I know I didn't teach you guys the trig functions yet, but any trig function that starts with a C has a negative derivative, okay? I'll prove the rest in other videos later. So the derivative of cosine is negative sine. Now, what you need to do is say, let me repeat myself. Keep the first, derivative of the second, plus keep the second, I'm gonna put that down here, derivative of the first. Now the derivative of the first is the power rule. 4 times 5, 20, decrease the exponent by 1. 2 times 3, 6, decrease the exponent by 1. And then you could fix that up. Let's put the minus all the way in the front. Or probably I would prefer to write it as 20x to the third plus 6x times cosine x minus, and then you could put 5x to the fourth plus 3x squared times sine x. So that's probably better to make the minus come second, okay? Last problem, let's see. It's a product rule because it goes like this times this. There's 2 x's. I'm going to keep the first, derivative of the second. The derivative of x is 1. Derivative of negative 2 is 0, plus keep the second, derivative of the first, that's just 1, the derivative of 3 is 0. Clean this up a bit, I get x plus 3 plus x minus 2, that's going to be 2x plus 1 as my derivative. Let's check that really fast. Before I did my derivative, if I distributed that, I would get x squared plus 3x minus 2x minus 6. I would get x squared plus 1x minus 6. Now when I'm ready to take the derivative, look at my notation. That tells me I'm ready to take the derivative. The derivative of x squared is 2x. The derivative of 1x is 1. And my point of doing this problem is that it's silly to do the product rule for something like this. That's very silly. So if you could distribute it, I would rather do it this way, clean it up, and then take the derivative. But either way works. So I hope that was helpful. I'm going to do some more complicated problems in the next video, so come back for that.